Hey y'all, welcome back to Come Home with Jennah. I am Jennah Sears, your favorite North Texas realtor. I am so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for listening. If you listened last time, you know that we talked about what the heck is TREC, why does it matter in Texas, who's the boss of real estate here, and where are we getting our information. So today we're gonna do a deep dive on some of the vocab that I might be using as your real estate agent, or that your inspector might be using, or your appraiser might be using, or any agent you come in contact with might be using. And I want you to be prepared, because at some point, I promise you will want to buy or sell a house. And it's helpful to know what to ask. So we talked about what the MLS is last time, and it is the multiple listing service. So some of the acronyms or verbiage used on the MLS are very common, and I'm going to tell you what they are. So first, we're going to look at DOM. So when I pull comps or comparable properties to show to either a buyer or a seller, I really focus a lot on days on market, which is DOM. So days on market is defined as the number of days from the date which the property is listed in the MLS, and it goes to the date where the seller has a signed contract. So that doesn't mean when it's closed. It means to when the seller and the buyer have both signed and there is an executed contract. So that's really important, because I will, especially last year, the year before, when days on market was 3, 5, 6, that doesn't mean that that property was closing in that amount of days. That means the amount of days that the property was listed as active, which brings us to our next question. So I had a client call, a buyer client of mine, and they were obsessed with this property. They really wanted to see it. They were so excited about it. Okay, but it's pending. What? What does that mean? So they wanted to know, why will you not show me a property that is pending? So here is what the status pending means when you see it on the MLS or on any of those websites that you might be checking out for property. So a property is pending when it has an offer, and that offer has no kickouts, options, or contingencies, and the seller has requested that there are no further showings, and they do not want to entertain backup offers at all. Essentially, everything has been done. They are waiting to close. They are packing up, they are moving their stuff, and you can't see that property anymore. Sorry, no thank you. That is pending. It's not active. So first, let's go through the line of what property statuses could be in kind of the order that they typically go in. So first, which is also great because you will only see this type of listing on the MLS or from a realtor or somebody with a real estate license, you are going to see coming soon. So coming soon is awesome. It gives the agent time to market a little bit, and also it gives the seller time to prep the house. There's a lot that goes into getting your house listed. I know that y'all have probably already listened to the podcast for my sellers. So if you haven't, check that out. It has great information on what kind of goes into selling your home. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. So during that coming soon, I, as an agent, can put a property up. The only people that are going to see that coming soon are either if you drive by and there's a sign in the yard that says coming soon, those people will see that. Or if you're looking on the MLS or one of, a site that a realtor has given you access to that has coming soons. So I always tell my buyers to really focus on those coming soons, because a property is only allowed here, where I practice real estate, to be listed as coming soon for 31 days. So that property is going to hit the market soon, and the next step is it's going to become active. So when a property is active, it means that it is available for sale and it is available for showings. So that means everything's ready, marketing's out, there's a box on the door with a key in it, and your buyer's agent can take you to tour that property. They are accepting offers, they are looking at those offers, they are letting people tour that home. That is what active means. So if you are new to the buyer pool, you want to focus most likely on properties that are either coming soon so you can prepare, and your agent can call the agent who has listed the property as coming soon, and they'll figure it out for you. Just ask them. They will say, hey, we're coming soon. We plan on going active on this date, or this date is when we'll be ready to show. You cannot show a property that is coming soon. That is not allowed. It must be at least active. That's a hard and fast rule. So I'm not going to show you a coming soon property. It's not allowed. Once it's active, I can show it to you. And I'm not going to show you a pending property because it's gone, basically. I mean, crazy things happen. If it comes back on the market and it goes active again, we can see it, but fall in love with something else. You know what I'm saying? All right, so the next phase that you'll see, or status that you'll see a property go into, it's called active option contract. Now, what that means is the seller has accepted an offer from a buyer. So there is an executed contract, and that contract is in the option period. So we have in Texas, now you could waive your option. If I'm your agent, I am telling you not to waive your option. You want that option period because here's what it allows you to do as a buyer. You can do your due diligence. You can get your inspections done. If you want to do anything, you want to have a plumber out, you want to do a leak test, all of these things need to be done during the option period. And all of the repairs, if there are any repairs, they have to be negotiated and agreed upon before that option period ends. The buyer typically will provide some sort of compensation for that option period. We'll talk about this later, but that compensation goes at the end. Well, we're going to talk about that in the next episode because we're going to get into title and escrow and what all of that looks like. So let's not confuse you now. But if it's in the option period, it means the buyer basically can back out at any time during that for any reason. They could just get cold feet and decide, I don't like it anymore. But what active option contract also means is if you are also a buyer and you are looking at this property, the seller is still showing this property and you are allowed to show up, take a tour. Use the service, call your agent. You can't just show up at their house, obviously. So, but the sellers can still let the house be seen and they could accept backup offers still. So that, it gets a little hairy. Percentage-wise, I think the last stat I heard was it's about 80% of contracts end up closing once they go into the option period. So if you're saying there's a chance, there's a chance. So if you're a buyer, you love a house, it's under contract, your agent agrees, you could take a look, they schedule it, you're allowed to see it. The next thing that you might see for a status is called active contingent. Now, contingent could mean a handful of things. The contingency could be a financing contingency. So they're waiting for their loan to be approved, the buyer is. Or the contingency could be, who knows? The buyer could have another house to sell and that might have to sell. You don't know. But there's some type of contingency. So the seller is still going to show the home and they will take a backup offer if they so desire, and that's completely fine. The next one is called active kickout. Now, active kickout is you got a chance now, I think, and I tell my clients this. So what you have an option to do you could be the second buyer in line. So you could come in and you could submit your backup contract and the seller could sign your backup contract. Now, the seller can't kick the first contract out, but there is something in play in that first contract that is allowing you to come in and give you a little bit of a fighting chance. The one I see the most is if that buyer, the first buyer in line, has another property to sell, and if the property that the first buyer has in line has not sold, it is not under contract, it is just hanging out, everyone's just playing the waiting game. There is typically a time frame that they have agreed upon, both the first buyer and the seller, to where if the seller notifies that first buyer, hey, we have executed a backup contract, and per the first contract, the first buyer's contract that was signed and executed, there will be a number of days, sometimes hours, but mostly days, short number of days usually, where the first buyer will have to back out or they will have to drop whatever contingency they have in there. So there's a fighting chance if you see something as active kick out. That first buyer could definitely get kicked out and your contract would go into play and you would move into first place. So let's talk a little bit about a backup offer. So a backup offer is when the second offer or the backup offer, they are acknowledging to both the seller and the first buyer that they know that there's already an offer in play, but they would like to be the first person to have an executed contract if that first offer falls out for some reason. So that is really important. Now, as a listing agent, I love a backup offer. As a buyer's agent, I like to warn my buyers not to get too attached to the house because we don't know what the contingency is. We've written the backup offer. The backup offer is accepted even, but we don't really know all of the details unless the seller and their agent, chooses to share those. So don't fall in love too quickly, but you have a chance. There is a chance. So that is what a backup offer is. Then we go to pending. We already talked about what pending is. The seller's done showing, they're packed up, everyone's just waiting for the closing date, and then you have sold. So you surely can't see a sold property because it is not for sale any longer. So I hope that helps you know what you're looking at when you're checking out your MLS access through your agent, or when I tell you as a buyer, hey, really focus on active and coming soon properties. Now you know where you have a shot, where you probably don't, and what houses that, yes, they're listed, but you can't even see. So I hope that is helpful. Thank y'all so much for hanging out today. Stay tuned. We are going to talk about title and what the heck that is and what they do and what that means next time. So stay tuned. I can't wait to share it with you. And don't forget, tell everyone you know to come home with Jennah. Bye, y'all.